All right, what's going on, guys? Jeff here. Today's Friday, so we're gonna be going through some of the news. There's not a lot of crazy news today, but after going through the news, we'll be going through my daily trades and, of course, just a few more updates on the whole Russia-Ukraine situation. But anyway, let's go for some news today. All right, so stock futures waiver on Ukraine concerns. Okay, honestly speaking, I just want to say this once and for all. I said it over and over again, okay? Thursdays and Fridays usually is when you start to see some form of a retracement for a lot of stocks, be it your indexes, be it your stock picking, be it your tech stocks, growth stocks, whatever, okay? All of them are usually going to be retracing, especially during war times. So it's very, very normal for us to kind of see headlines such as like stock futures waiver on Ukraine concerns because we do not know what's going to happen, okay? But anyway, something that I do want to bring up here, which is super duper interesting. Okay, Russia is considering selling its oil and gas for Bitcoin as sanctions intensify from the West. So, do you guys kind of remember when it was? I think it was early in 2020 and 2021. A lot of us first probably got into Bitcoin during that time as well. Truth be told, that was also the time where I actually got into Bitcoin as well. And like the reason why we got into Bitcoin was simply because Bitcoin was going to go to the moon. And that's why we're getting into Bitcoin, not because Bitcoin is going to be useful in the future. Because let's be honest, Bitcoin showed a lot of obstacle for us to really prevent us from actually using Bitcoin, be it, being too expensive, being too big, being like a finite resource and such. Of course, there's a lot of drawbacks from using Bitcoin as a proper currency. Similar with using Ethereum, with the high gas fee and such. So a lot of time when we actually think about using Bitcoin or Ethereum as a form of currency in the future, is kind of seem like a very big disparity in terms of what we're actually going through right now. Of course, with the inclusion of the metaverse, with the inclusion of your NFTs, your inclusion of a lot of companies actually being a lot more bullish onto using Bitcoin and Ether to actually transact in their businesses, because even Visa and Mastercard are also in there. Okay, PayPal is also going to the Bitcoin sphere. We have big companies such as your Tesla, such as your Facebook, getting all into the metaverse, aka metaverse NFT crypto side of things. Okay, so I would imagine that it is very, very normal for us to start to see a lot of such crypto movements in the future. Of course, in the past, I would like to say 3 to 4 months, there's not a lot of movement in the crypto market. Okay, right now Bitcoin is at about $44,000, 44.3K. Ethereum is at 3.1K. Polkadot at $21. Ripple at 84 cents. Dogecoin at 13.5 cents. Cardano at $1.13. Cardano is a crazy move. Like not even joking. Shiba Inu doing about like 0.24 and such. So honestly speaking, I do think that crypto in the long run is definitely going to be, we're going to hit it out of the park. But when we actually look at it from a long-term point of view, for Bitcoin and Ethereum, it's similar to you actually doing stock picking for any other stocks because it's a hit or miss. And of course, there's always that constant buzzing concern that a lot of Bitcoin holders have, which is what if the actual Bitcoin creator were to come out to just be like, hey, I'm alive, that kind of thing. And then they're gonna set a whole new this whole new fear around this whole entire currency, which is gonna probably scare people away from actually holding on to Bitcoin and such, simply because if the creator is deemed to be alive, and he is also the actual creator for Bitcoin, that's gonna be a little bit concerning. But I think what happened on the 24th of February that actually changed this entire conversation around is Russia Ukraine. Because let's be honest here, with what happened with Russia and Ukraine, a lot of cryptocurrency actually came up, be it your Ethereum, be it your Polkadot, be it all your other like random altcoins out there. They're actually DMing Ukraine on Twitter, or even actually just tweeting to Ukraine directly and just be like, open up a wallet for us and we'll donate via whatever coins we have. That's what Polkadot did. So I thought that it was pretty cool. Okay, and people were donating via Dogecoin, via Polkadot, via Ethereum, via Bitcoin, whatever it is. They were sending it all to Ukraine's wallet, and that was how Ukraine was actually able to get a lot of their fundings for whatever war they're actually doing right now. Of course, those funding is not going to be enough for them to actually fight a long, drawn-out war with Russia, but without a doubt, that definitely helped with the whole morale side of things for Ukraine. But on top of that, it actually further stabilizes the fact that Bitcoin is so important in this world. Okay, for the fact that because of how Bitcoin is this decentralized finance that can easily be transmitted over without any sort of exchanges and such, basically just from a DEX. Okay, you can just transfer from a DEX to a DEX, or you can just transfer from a wallet to a wallet. Okay, that's not going to be a bank stopping you. That's not going to be SEC stopping you. That's not going to be government body stopping you. No one's going to stop you from transacting as it is, other than the network itself. So be it your Ethereum, be it the gas fee that you have to pay and such. And this kind of just open up this entire conversation of like how people used to always bring up the fact that Bitcoin, that's where all the gangsters are at, that's where all the thugs are at, that's where they're earning the money, that's where they're getting their drug money and such. But because of this whole Russia-Ukraine situation, it kind of just opened up this entire thing. And right now, okay, with this current news alone, Russia is considering selling its oil and gas for Bitcoin as sanctions intensify from the West. This is exactly the concern that the GOPs were having for actually not having proper regulation around crypto. Because they're like saying, what if we just put so much sanction on Russia to the point where they will just sell their oil and gas for Bitcoin instead? Then the US is not going to get anything. UK is not going to get anything. Europe's not going to get anything. And that's the situation right now. Okay, it's true that it's good to be decentralized. Okay, it's good that we see Ukraine doing that side of thing, where Ukraine were able to get help from other people, get help globally, without any sort of like any misinformation going on. You're not gonna suddenly scam. Okay, your money's not gonna go away and such. Pretty good. But right now, if this whole entire system or this entire platform is being used by Russia, on the other hand, now this just turns into a whole nother topic for a lot of people to actually talk about. But I do want to talk about this a little bit more, but I think that this is going to take up a lot of time. So I might actually open this up again if we have more information on this, maybe on a Wednesday or Saturday video. I'll see how it goes. But anyway, let's move on from this first. I'm just going to tap this for now. First, and then we'll just get back to this in the future. All right. Next up, Uber reaches deal to list all New York City taxis on its app. All right, so let's see. Uber. I'm pretty sure I opened up Uber, didn't I? Okay, Uber. So Uber went up by 5% yesterday in the pre-market. Right now, currently have a 0% move, not much movement at all. And yeah, I do think that what Uber did with this move is very, very smart. Okay, because this way, Uber basically had this huge issue where they have a manpower situation happening, and by them actually doing this, Travis is a genius for doing this, not gonna lie. The company reached an agreement to lease all New York City taxis on its app, an alliance that could ease the ride-hailing giant driver's shortage and temper high fares while directing more business to cab drivers whose livelihood were affected by the emergence of the car-sharing app and the pandemic. So we have to take into consideration, because during a pandemic, of course, people who actually use an Uber is a lot lesser. People who use the services of those cab hailing rides and such is going to be lesser as well, because people are not out as much. Okay, people are working from home and such. People generally are just not going out as much. Okay, and if we actually take, for example, during the pandemic, if I am an Uber driver, I am going to be thinking, if that's the case, I'm not. If I go out and I'm gonna get like, I don't know, like 10 trips a day, that's not gonna be enough for me to cover my entire day, for example. And I'll just be like, you know what? If that's the case, I'm not gonna drive Uber anymore. And this is gonna be causing some form of a labor shortage in Uber themselves, because a lot of people will start to think the demand for Uber is so low to the point where it's not worth it for me to actually rent a car and actually be riding around town for 10 rides a day for me to actually even get like, I don't know, like $80 a day. And if that's starting to become a form of like a not worthy transaction, people basically just start to transit over to something else. Okay, be it, you know, you want to do drop shipping, you want to do stock trading, I don't care. Okay, you're not going to be in Uber because it doesn't make sense for the amount of time and the effort, and also, let's be honest, a little bit of money at the start for you to actually do the renting of the car. Okay, so if that doesn't make sense for a lot of people at the start, the whole labor situation is gonna be changing the direction of it, and people are just not gonna be Uber drivers. Okay, but for those cab drivers out there, they cannot just be like, okay, I don't want to be a cab driver anymore, I'm gonna change my job. It's not as easy for them because a lot of them are, chances are, they are already of a very, very old age. It's very hard for them to actually transit into something else. And for them, chances are they are also like sharing a cab with someone else. I'm not sure about New York, but it is for in Singapore. And because of that, it kind of makes sense for them to be like, you know what, you guys will just have to just continue doing this entire situation, doing this entire cab driving. But the thing is that for them, their biggest competitor would always be the Ubers and the Lyft and the ride and such over in the US side of things. And if they are constantly in competition or in rivalry mode with Ubers and such, there will always be this discomfort and this sort of discord between the cab drivers and also the Uber drivers and such. So I do think that what Travis did here is very, very smart. Okay, because if he basically just be like, you know what, if all the New York City taxis, you guys just get under my umbrella, okay? Just I'll get under my umbrella. Okay. They don't have to care. Because right now, that way, Uber actually solves two problems. Okay. Uber solved the first problem being the labor shortages. And the second one, technically taking out the rivals. Because people who do not, like people who kind of like hate on Uber because they are like taking away the the traditional business from all the cab drivers, they are going to continue to support the cab drivers. But right now, if all the New York City taxis are going to be under Uber's umbrella, it doesn't really make sense for you to not just take an Uber. Okay, so it makes a lot of sense. I do think that this is going to be helping a lot. So I do think that Uber did something super duper smart about this. So yeah, when Uber has formed partnership with some taxi operators overseas, and riders in several US cities can also use this app to book taxis if cab drivers choose to be listed there. The New York City Alliance is its first citywide partnership in the US, New York, blah, blah, blah. Okay. It's bigger and bolder than anything we've done, of course. So yeah, okay. Passengers will pay roughly the same fare for taxi rides for the Uber X. And then the Uber drivers in New York City receive a minimum time and distance rate set by the TLC. Uber said that its driver typically earn more than that rate. Cab drivers who agree to take Uber passengers will be paid the same way. So yeah, you know, I do think that this is a very, very good move for Uber without a doubt. Personally speaking, I do think that Uber has been a little bit stagnating ever since the first breakthrough of what Uber actually did via doing the whole food business, where they actually transit over to Uber food. I thought that was actually very, very smart of them to actually do so, especially that became a very good second stream of income, especially during the pandemic, because when people are not traveling, people are ordering in their food, and that makes a lot of sense. Okay, that's why I think Uber actually like insanely called it out. They were very, very forward looking with it. They immediately continued with the Uber food business side of things, and they actually doubled down on Uber Eats. And because of that, that's why I don't think that Uber is going to be suffering as much. However, my big issue with Uber is that Uber is still not that innovative. Whereas where Uber is still not actually showing us enough results in terms of the financial side of things. After going through a lot of the earnings calls for Uber, I do think that Uber is not really showing us why it is worth investing right now. But of course, if you're talking about the angel rounds and earlier into the days, Uber is definitely worth getting into. But right now I do think that Uber is slightly more pricier, and of course, with this current 5% bump, it just made it a little bit tougher for me to invest into. But I'm not gonna lie, okay, this 5% is very, very well deserved because I do think that Uber did a very, very right move over here. All right, anyway, moving on to the next one. China looks to salvage a relationship with Europe. Okay, so this one is basically the whole political fight again, because we have to take into consideration that if China wants to continue with this no boss, no limit friendship with Russia, China is basically slapping the face across US, UK, Europe, the countries in general, be it Australia, New Zealand, Switzerland, whoever it is, okay? China is basically slapping them across the face. And I'm not sure if this is the smartest thing for China, but of course, I've been talking about this for quite some time, so you can just watch a few of my other videos where I actually talk about this. But yeah, Beijing is becoming wary that its alignment with Russia during the Ukraine crisis could also cause it a relationship that has sometimes functioned as a buffer in its contest with Washington, which is Europe. So yeah, if you are, somehow stuck on a rock and you do not know, the US and China have this sort of ongoing rivalry for being the best nation sort of thing. And for the past, I think like 20, 30 years, no, past 100 years, US have always been in the lead. But in the past 10 years or so, not gonna lie, China is actually coming really, really close. And of course, China is actually getting very close because of all the trade relations that China has with a lot of other countries and continents. And of course, Europe being one of the continents that is being well traded with. Right now, if China were to kind of piss off Europe in a case, it's not going to be good for them, especially with their race against Washington, aka US. In order for them to actually beat US, they are going to have to expand their trade relations to a lot more countries, and of course, doing a lot better in terms of a country. And with what they're actually doing with the alignment with Russia, I'm not going to lie, I do see that China is really taking a few steps back with this. With the thousands of steps they actually took forward before this whole entire crisis, I do think that this is a few steps back for China. I'm not sure what China is going to be doing for this whole entire scenario. All right, so for years, Chinese leaders have deployed a divide and conquer approach to Europe, enticing some nations such as Germany and those in Central and Eastern Europe with both market access to the world's second largest economy and greater Chinese investment in some of those countries. So yeah, like I said before, all those countries like Germany and such, they kind of need China to a certain extent as well, but it is not to the extent where if they were to boycott China, they are going to fall. It's not to the extent of how they are actually depending on Russia, for example, for various commodities. These just like trade routes and such. So it's not that bad. But at the same time, it's still going to be a little bit of a hit to the countries if they lost China, and it's going to be a bigger hit to China if they were to lose Europe. So that's kind of the situation here. So yeah, I can kind of really see how this whole entire news article is going to go. China will have to really go through a lot of mountains and seas for them to actually salvage this relationship with Europe. Personal thought. All right. US EU reached a preliminary deal on data privacy. Okay. Brussels, the US and European Union reached a preliminary deal on controlling how digital data moves between their two markets. I think that honestly speaking, I'm just going to be transparent with you guys. I really hate this kind of data-driven article because a lot of time I don't really understand the whole reason for them actually going through with this whole data privacy and such. I'm not a big fan of data privacy. I'm not a big fan of data non-privacy, I guess. I'm just not that against like infringing on data privacy or whatnot. Of course, if you're talking about hacking and of course like unethical usage of the data, then that's on another spectrum. But if you're talking about like just randomly like knowing what you like and such, I'm not going to be that affected by it. So personal thought, I guess. Okay, anyway, I'm just going to move on to the next one because it's already 19 minutes. But okay, Biden sticks with long-standing U.S. policy on use of nuclear weapons amid pressure from allies. So again, Biden came up with the G, I think it was the G7 or the G20. They actually came out to kind of just say that, like, all right, you know what? If Russia intends to use any nuclear weapons or any chemical weapons, they are going to be bearing serious consequences. And I think that this has been echoed throughout this entire, from the start of the war. I think it was ever since the start of March, they have been echoing the same message over and over again. And we kind of already know where US, UK, and Europe kind of stands on this entire scale. Okay, we know that they are going to be very against a nuclear warfare. But like I said before, I don't think that Russia is going to be that bothered by it. Russia do not want to do it simply because it's too near to Russia. I would assume that that's the one of the reason why they're actually stopping. If it's not too near to Russia, I believe that they will just do it. But I don't know, man. Not a war general. Can't tell you my own thoughts for this. But yeah, I do appreciate that the US, the UK, and and Europe are actually standing their ground and actually just saying, like, do not use nuclear and chemical weapons, because by them constantly echoing this message, it's very, very easy for them to kind of be like, all right, we have warned you, we are sending our guns down now. And when that actually happens, when that transition happens, it's going to be a lot smoother for the US, UK, and Europe to actually go in on Russia. But of course, like I said before, I don't think that that's going to be a very good conversation for us to be having. But anyway, let's see if we have anything else. Oh, okay, that's the one that's quite interesting. It's a news video, so let's watch it together.
Many people already pay a monthly fee for iPhones or Apple hardware through the phone network operators. Now Apple will be doing this directly.
Matt, it's nice to see you. Thank you for having me. So right now, you're right. You can buy an iPhone through your carrier or through Apple and split it over installments, whether that's 12 months or 24 months. This plan will be different in the sense that this will be a subscription, a monthly subscription that is operated through Apple, through iCloud, similar to the App Store. And you'd be able to pay monthly. It's unclear what that monthly fee will be to this point, but it won't simply be the 12 months or 24-month plans that you get for your phone carrier today. It'd be something like subscribing to Apple Music or Apple TV Plus.
All right, so this is super duper interesting to me. Okay, so before this is a thing, okay, what we have right now is that if, for example, in Singapore, we have the main 3 or 4 carriers that we actually hold, like, we basically just buy a plan with them. Okay, we sign a contract plan with them, and then we buy the phone over. Okay, we might pay, like, I don't know, like $400 for an iPhone, and then we kind of just pay it via the plan itself. Okay, and then the subsequent ones are basically where we just buy it with the SIM card itself, and then we kind of just buy the phone on our own. Okay, and then you just basically go to Apple shop, and then you just be like, all right, I want an iPhone 13, and I'm gonna pay it by installment. You want to do a 12-month, 24 months, 0%, like a 0% interest rate sort of thing. And then yeah, you just basically just go through the entire motion as such, and then you just kind of slowly pay for the entire thing, and then afterwards it's like, you're paying about, like, I don't know, $100 a month, and then you basically pay off your entire phone in the next 2 years, and that's usually the time that you want to change to the new phone and such. And what Apple is doing here is slightly different. Okay, they're doing a subscription model. Okay, and what I think this whole subscription model is gonna be like. Okay, there's gonna be 2 opinions on how I think Apple is gonna be doing this subscription model. Okay, the first one, okay, would most likely be they'll ask you to maybe pay, I don't know, like $150 a month. Okay, for example, $150 a month, or $200 a month. Okay, for example, $200 a month. I think that makes a lot more sense. Okay, $200 a month. You're gonna pay $200 a month to Apple, and then they are going, like, you are just gonna be using your phone, and you're gonna be covered with the Apple Care at all times. Okay, it's gonna be 24/7 Apple Care, protected forever. Okay, with whatever phone it is, and then every 2 years you get to actually pay maybe a minimum, like, I don't know, like an additional $200 fee, and then you can get the latest iPhone that's going to be coming out, for example, and then you get to kind of switch it up. So you can, I don't know how the logistics is going to work for this. Either they're going to, like, mail back the phone and then you get a new phone, that sort of thing, or the second thing would most likely be where hardware subscription, where, for example, if I'm using an iPhone, I think I'm using an iPhone 11, I think. Okay, let's just say I'm using an iPhone 11, okay? So the second opinion, which would be if you were to get an iPhone 11, you kind of just buy for an iPhone 11 subscription. And then every single time, like you just pay for this iPhone 11 subscription all the way. And then you just kind of get Apple Care throughout. And when it spoils or whatever it is, they're just going to send a refurbished iPhone 11 over to you. Like, of course, there's this during like a year, 2 years later sort of thing. But I'm not sure, okay? I'm just giving you my own thoughts before actually watching this because I don't even know it myself.
So the beauty of Apple Music or Apple TV Plus is every time they make updates, I get them immediately as a subscriber, or the consumer gets them immediately as a subscriber. How would this work with phones? Would you get a new device every year or every 2 years when it seems the batteries are programmed to fail anyway?
Oh my God! What? Did he just say that? Okay. okay. Never mind. Oh, that's good.
There will be an upgrade program. So as part of this, if a new iPhone comes out, the iPhone 14, 15, 16, you name it, you'll be able to swap your phone out for that new one. Now, it's similar to a car lease or Apple Music or buying a new Peloton under their test. If you stop
Peloton, come on now.
That phone will have to be given back, right? So you're not going to own the phone through this process. It really is like a leasing program, but for the iPhone. And what this will do is it'll generate more recurring revenue for Apple. It'll allow them to sell iPhone upgrades more frequently. And it really is moving from this outright payment model to this subscription model, which is becoming more and more popular in the Apple ecosystem for apps and services. Now they're bringing this to hardware as well.
I mean, in a sense, this leaves network operators out, though, right, Mark? I mean, I no longer need to go to a Verizon store or a telephone store. I can just go to the Apple store, subscribe to the phone, and I assume they'll get the service as well.
It's demoting the carriers to the point that these carrier subsidies, these carrier monthly plans, these installment plans that are generating tons of money for carriers are going to be.
Okay, I think I kind of get a basis of this. I'm not gonna deny the fact that all those carriers are getting a lot of money from this, which is why even right now I don't even use my carriers for my phone plans anymore. I basically just use it for the base, like calling, like internet and such. I'm just going to get my phone myself from Apple if I need it and such. But I'm not sure if Apple hit a gold mine here. I understand getting a recurring revenue via doing a subscription service for Apple, but I think for the hardware side of things, I do think that they are going to be getting into some form of an obstacle. I'm not going to lie. I do see that they have a future obstacle that they're going to be coming into. For example, people who are going to be scamming. Okay, people who basically spoil the phone quite often and they kind of just switch it for a new one. I'm almost certain that Apple Care is a must for all these phones in this whole situation. And I do think that they have to bring their price point low enough for people to really think that they want to part with the money every single month. Because let's not forget, recurring revenue is great and all, but you are actually expecting the consumer to be okay with losing like $100 a month, $200 a month, every single month. Okay, and not a lot of people. Okay, a lot of people own iPhones. Okay, I'm not gonna deny the fact that a lot of people in the world owns iPhone, but not a lot of people in the world can withstand getting the bill from the electronic bill or whatsoever on the phone, seeing that they owe an additional $200 a month every single month. Okay, I'm not sure if they are able to actually handle that, but of course I do think that this is going to be helping your visas and such. I think visa is going to be going up because of this if they were to come out, simply because this means more transaction every single month. Of course, you're going to have a lot of payment processes for that as well. I'm not sure if Affirm is going to be a thing out there as well. So yeah, I think that that's quite interesting for what Apple is trying to do over here, because if they actually get past this whole this stage of actually getting just hardware of iPhones out for subscription, okay, then the next up will probably be the iPads or the AirPods. I think AirPods is going to be a very, very hot one, because if AirPods are basically right now about $200 in Singapore, about $300 in Singapore, if you were to set up a subscription service for it for like every year I'm just going to change out for new AirPods and such, and then basically I just send back my AirPods, you guys just refurbish and then give it to the next guy. Okay, and then if they were to just set up the subscription model for like, I don't know, like $15 a month, basically, like, you know, if they do like $15 a month, they can kind of just pair it together with Apple Music and just be like, yeah, you know, use Apple Music plus AirPods, join the ecosystem and such. I'm not sure how that's going to work out, but I can see that happening if Apple wants to transit over to this hardware subscription model. All right, anyway, the last news, Instacart slashes its valuation by almost 40% to $24 billion. So for people who don't know about Instacart, basically they are like kind of trying to be an Amazon sort of thing where you can get a same-day delivery for a lot of your groceries and such. Of course, this was a pandemic darling. A lot of people were using the app itself, but it is not listed on the market. I remember that they were actually trying to get into a spec deal, but of course, afterwards, nothing really happened from there. Yeah, the food delivery startup valued at $39 billion for their fundraising rounds, snagged $265 million last year from investors. And then yeah, afterwards, you know, they're still under a private market because I don't think that they've listed yet. But yeah, I think that they were actually listed as iCart for a certain period of time, and afterwards, it just disappeared. So yeah, not gonna lie, this actually brings up a lot of concerns for pandemic darlings. So, for example, your Zoom, the Peloton, and of course, all the other softwares that you are going to be using when you are in a pandemic. Those stocks are basically going all the way down. Okay, Peloton all the way went all the way up to $100 or so. Right now it's stabilizing at about $29, $28 or so. Zoom, I think that Zoom was actually quite destroyed as well. Zoom actually went to like $300 or so. Right now it's about $100, so about 60% drop. And of course, you know, with Instacart, this kind of just brings forth the whole entire idea that, you know, when it is a pandemic darling, it's not going to stay there forever, because the only reason people are actually buying into it is because of the whole entire pandemic. Things subside and then people start to believe in businesses again, believe in how a proper economy is going to work, not just where you're just working from home and such. And that's when people start to put out money, deploy their money into better businesses out there. But, you know, that's just my thought. But anyway, that's all I have for the news part. And I'm not going to forget about it this time. I'm going to bring up my portfolio. Okay, a week. All right. I bought more Futu puts, aka Mumu's, the stock, the company behind Mumu. Sorry, yeah, the company behind Mumu. And if you're not with Mumu yet, check the link down below for free stocks up to I think $1,000 for Mumu. Link down below. Just go and sign up using my link. I think you have to put in $2,000, and then afterwards you can get free stocks. Hey man, free stocks. I'm not gonna complain. All right, I bought more puts on the Mumu simply because it is a Chinese company, and I do have my own doubts on Chinese companies at the moment, and it's just my own sense of my play. As of yesterday, I was down. I think I was down about 20% or so. Today, I'm most likely going to be up already because Mumu just went down by 5% in the pre-market. 5.5% in the pre-market. I do see it go down a little bit to the 8-9% or so, and that's when I might be starting to do a little bit of a selling off of my puts in order for me to actually bring my cost basis down a little bit. But of course, these puts are going to be expiring quite late. It's going to be expiring next year. I'm not going to be very worried about this. I sold calls on Snapchat. I sold calls on Lemonade. I sold calls on Peloton. Okay, all this I sold them simply because I was worried about the market. I still stand by them, okay? And I'm not worried about me selling this, because if worst comes to it, you know, I'm just going to be rolling my sold calls, because these are all covered calls. I'm just going to be rolling them in the later date if it comes down to it. I do see myself actually rolling for my Lemonade calls because Lemonade suddenly having a lot of hype in the last week or so, and of course I did buy what else did I buy? Oh, I did buy more puts on Occidental Petroleum. Same thing. Okay, it's my bet against the oil industry. I do see oil prices going down in the long run. Of course, these are going to be expiring next year. I'm not very worried about this. And then for the short run, I did buy a little bit more SoFi calls, and I bought more Hut 8 calls, which is my play on the banking industry, and of course, a play on the whole crypto side of things. So anyway, that's all I have for today. A little bit longer than expected, 35 minutes or so. But anyway, thank you guys so much for watching. And I'll see you guys tomorrow. Yeah, tomorrow I have a video coming out, and then afterwards, the next one will be on Monday. Anyway, thank you guys for watching. I'll see you guys tomorrow.